What's up, y'all?
What happens if we don't have AI and we need to write some code? I have the perfect situation. I write BART every day.
Video to say I'm on BART.
I have bad internet on my phone. I work for this company called Continue that lets you power agent mode through ollama. So why not put it to the test? So what is a test? Can I get some work done without internet access on a BART train? Now, you probably didn't notice, but Claude had an outage last night for about maybe 30 minutes. And a couple weeks ago, they had a very similar outage for half a day because of GCP. And I joked on Twitter that it's about time to start using Stack Overflow. So I wasn't able to get a ton of work done, and that wasn't really because of the internet or because of the AI. I got a little uncomfortable recording on the BART train at a certain point, so I stopped recording my screen and also myself. Also, I barely recorded any audio while I was on the train.
Video to say I'm on BART. Say I'm on BART.
That was about it, and it was mainly because I'm not an influencer. I don't know what to do when I'm in these situations. But I will say, I was able to interact with my Gemma 4B model to ask questions around my code and basically leverage what I call a PRD. Before I even write code, actually, I've been writing PRDs. So specifically, if I'm going to write a feature, if I'm going to fix some bugs or improve performance, I actually want to write a list of things I wanted to accomplish. And the reason for that is if I don't stick to that, what I end up doing is I end up going on this weird rabbit holes and these sort of side quests because the AI might even just introduce something random for me that will just put me down just a different path. So I try to keep myself honest and also keep the AI, the agent specifically in check by saying, this is what we're solving. Anything else, open to issue 4, we'll do it later. So I've been creating PRDs specifically for this, so I keep myself focused when I do have limited time to write code. The other thing I want to say is I also started using rules pretty heavily. So rules are essentially just preemptively stuff you add to your system prompt to say, this is how we write code in this situation. So in my case, I use Vitess for test. A lot of times when I use an agent, just 1 shot, 2 shots, I'll start writing jest code. And I just want to make sure I have rules to say, this is how we write the code in this project. Adhere to these rules. I find it super helpful, even when I am connecting to the internet, to basically have some sort of guardrails on how extensive the agent can move within the code, but also keep it grounded.
I feel like a good stopping point to kind of explain this. So here what I have is my VS Code. And on the left, I have my rule, which is written in Markdown specifically to encourage my agent to create a PRD. On the right is my coding assistant. What I want to do is create a PRD to add a sharing button onto my lottery factor chart. I thought maybe I'd just put together a real small example to explain the concept. So let me write out my prompt, looking at the lottery factor. I'm going to add my rule. Here I'm going to actually add context of my rules directly to my prompt. You know what? I just realized I'm not in the agent mode. But also in agent mode, it's actually going to pipe these rules in. As if you have the rule itself says always apply. Obviously, I don't want to create PRDs for every single chat interaction. But I'll just go ahead and apply this directly. And the other thing I'm going to do is make sure I have context of the file I'm looking at. I'm going to have this grab all files. Cool. Then I'm going to hit enter and see what happens. So right off the bat, I already have the context of my rule. I also have the context of the 3 files I added to that. And it's going to actually generate me a PRD for me to walk into building this feature. Now, written within my rules spec, it actually asks clarifying questions. So these clarifying questions specifically are how to target platforms, the social medias, blah, blah, share content. So these are questions that the agent's looking at this problem, and there's probably some questions it needs to clarify on how to go and solve this problem by itself. So the best thing to do is I actually just go ahead and just like type a 1, target platform. Let's aim for X and LinkedIn. What's good about this is if you have a token window or you know you only have a limited amount of time, maybe you're riding on a BART from the airport, this gives you like enough context and enough sort of guardrails to build out a plan to go ship something small. The other thing I want to point out is actually I have it within my rule to make PRDs in task folders. So I have a task folder already in the root of my project. The task folder is going to have a bunch of PRDs, but also I take the PRDs and I'll generate step-by-step tasks to actually work through things that I want to build. So here you'll see these sort of bulleted lists of what dependencies to enable or success metrics as well. And the other thing I have in here is I'm targeting specifically for a junior developer. So anybody could pick this up and navigate where in the app to build this. So now that's just one step. I'll point out that I do have a sort of task rule here, as well as a rule to basically go and check off and accomplish the task. What I love about this is actually it keeps the constraints very clear for the agent. So if I want to go leverage agent mode and I want to bull rush through a bunch of like small ticket items, or if I want to attack something that's larger, I can help break this up into stuff that's bite-sizable chunks. So whether I'm writing the code or whether I'm letting the agent write the code, it actually makes everything so much more approachable. The benefit of this as well is it actually gives you a bunch of documentation on the way that you're building this application. So when you go and add a PR description, or if you go write docs or write tests, you've got success metrics. You got really a lot of guardrails to help build the stability of your application. With that, let's go back to Brian.
And I know there's another debate around whether or not to use rules or whether or not to be verbose in your prompts. And I imagine the people who are really advocating that to be less verbose are the folks who are selling models. But when you have limited access, whether you work at an enterprise or you work in an air gap situation with limited internet access, my recommendation is actually set your environment up for success by having these guardrails, which are rules. So you're probably wondering how well this went. And it went pretty good. Like, I didn't get a ton of code written because, one, the BART train actually gets pretty busy in the afternoons. So by the time I got to Civic Center, I started getting a little crowded. I stopped recording at that point. But I will say I ended up going through my PRD and just doing a bunch of tests, testing out what I could build when I got home. I also want to recommend, if you're interested about learning about PRDs and rules, check out Ryan Carson's recent interviews. He's been going on a tear around really just showing people how to set up your agents for success. I've actually incorporated those rules into my projects. I open sourced a project this week called Awesome Rules, and we have a CLI that will be open source next week where you can consume rules from the public as well. So if you see folks that have good rules and how to set up their environment, especially when you're going on a train to work for roughly 30 to 40 minutes, check it out. But with that said, see you in the next one.